Hello and welcome to Insights with Oyerokun, where we talk about real life matters revolving entrepreneurship, investment, and opportunities. I'm your host, Gate Akonde, and today we'll be talking about a very important topic called the best of both worlds. Now, I have someone special, the visionary man himself, who is a diaspora investor, a strategist, and someone who has worked in the dual path and has helped others to do the same. Join me, welcome Engineer Omotayo Oyerokun. So you're welcome, sir.
Yeah, welcome.
It's
Thank
really
you very
great to
much.
have you here again.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Nice to be here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a very important topic, something that a lot of people have ideas or they don't want to share, or a lot of people do not even have ideas about at all when it comes to the best of both worlds. And you have experience, you have, ideas, you've lived that life. So when we say best of both worlds, what are we really talking about? I don't know. Can you explain more about it? Can you tell the listeners or make them understand it in the best way possible?
Okay.
That statement.
Okay. So thank you very much once again. Well, when we talk about the best of both worlds, we're actually referring to unlocking opportunities as a dual national,
Mm-hmm.
and not just as a dual national. Someone who resides in, for example, you're on a resident permit in another country, or you've been privileged to even live between the north and the south of a particular country, or you've been privileged to live in another country that is not your country of origin.
Oh,
So we're looking at how you can have the best of both worlds. For example, I'm sure you've seen people who live abroad and they can still have the best of their African dish, even though they live in the Caribbean
yes,
or they
yes.
live in Europe or America. They still, want to have, the best of both worlds, when it comes to their kind of dish. So now we're looking at it in a more broader perspective when we talk about it. What are the opportunities, apart from the food, of
Yeah.
making your home feel like you're in Nigeria or your home country? What what are the other opportunities that are available? Yeah.
Okay. Now you mentioned something. Dual. What's the word?
Dual nationality.
That dual nationality. I don't know. It seems like you're targeting a certain kind of person. So I don't know if you can really dive into it more.
Okay.
Who are you initially referring to?
Well, when we talk about the dual nationals,
Yeah.
yeah, dual nationals simply means somebody who, maybe is from a particular country of origin, relocated and became a natural citizen. Some people
Okay.
born citizen by birth. Some people adopt the citizenship of their parents. So we have people in that category. We also have people who are students,
Yes.
who traveled on student visas and who went abroad to study. So we're looking at what are the opportunities available for them. That's why we said you can have the best of both worlds. The fact that you went to study, or you're even on a residential permit or a work permit. For example, we have people who go to the Middle East. For
Okay.
example, Dubai, Qatar. You can't become, you can't have a UAE nationality. All they can give you is a work permit. But you can still take advantage of the best of both worlds. So we're not just limiting this discussion to people with dual nationality alone, people who have
Okay.
maybe Canadian, Australian, or British passports. We're also focusing on people who are residents or are students. What are the opportunities they could start unlocking? Because sometimes you are able to see um, your home country or another location better when you are looking at it from outside. So
Okay.
what are the opportunities available for those of us who've been through it? So I'm hoping that during this program I'll be able to share more
Okay. All right.
opportunities that you can unlock. Yeah.
Yeah, I really look forward to that. But I'm trying to understand as a Nigerian that I've left my home country and I've gone to, or I'm now dwelling elsewhere. What is the benefit of me wanting to what is the benefit for me, for example, to want to benefit again from my home country? Like, why should I consider that option at all? So
Yeah.
some people it's like a dream come true, but you are saying they can still benefit from home. So
Yeah.
why should that be an option for them?
Well, the truth about it is I do agree. I know
Yes.
some people who have not even left their home country and they say the day they leave, they probably will not even look back again.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
like I said, and I always say to people, one of the luck I've had is that I've had like 3, 4 grandparents.
Mm,
In Africa we call, anybody older than us like auntie grandparents. So
yes.
I've had like opportunity to have like grandparents, grand aunties, grand uncles abroad. And so when I finally had the opportunity to relocate, I could see the way they were retiring. I could
Mm,
see the complaints, and even from people who were there before me, I could hear some of their complaints. I thought, if they are taking advantage of unlocking the opportunities that the best of both worlds could give them, and when we talk about best of both, I mean your home country and your
where you
current
live, yes.
country, or it could even be from between, for example, in Nigeria, you living in Lagos, and or you living in the north, and you came from Lagos.
Okay.
So it doesn't have to be international. All right, it
Oh,
could be local. So we could
okay.
even have people who live in the north,
Mm,
who lived in the north and they came to Lagos. What is the opportunity
mm,
that they can, that is there for them? For those who lived in Lagos and moved to the north, what is the opportunity? So if you really want to be successful, you want to have the best of both worlds, you need to be able to smell opportunity.
mm,
So most people travel, and when they get there, they're overwhelmed. Like the set of people who've traveled in the last 5 years, they will tell you it was they're shocked about how what they're experiencing over there. They're shocked about the lifestyle. They're shocked about the wages. They're shocked that they can't even save. So what we're saying here is that okay, while you're having all these experiences, can you take advantage of the best of both worlds to prepare for your future, basically? Yeah.
okay. I get what you say, but to be honest, it kind of sounds theoretical,
Okay.
and I'm sure the listeners they really want to hear your side of the story because, from the introduction, you've lived both ways. So
Yeah.
can you share your own story so that they will understand it better?
Okay.
So please, I don't want you to appreciate from that.
Well, my own story it's a bit different. Like I've said in previous podcasts or where I've had interviews, that I was the last. I'm the first child, but I was the last to leave Nigeria. All right,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the reasons why I was the last to leave, even though my parents tried, was they were relocating to the UK,
Okay.
and my mom had gone there, and my brothers and I were supposed to join with my dad. And we got to the embassy at some point, and different thing that happened, but I'll just mention this part where we got to the embassy at one point, and I was above 18. And once you're above 18, unlike other countries, some countries
Oh,
allow, even if a child is 34, you can bring your child in as long as you become a national. But in the UK, it's different. Once your child is 18, your child can go with you. They believe your
mm,
child is an adult. So that kind of affected me at some point. After several trials, I became 18. I couldn't go. So those periods where I was in Nigeria, like I said, I'd run several businesses and all that.
yes.
But immediately I got to the UK, and I've been privileged actually. Before I relocated, I was privileged, you know, to go on holiday. You know,
Okay.
I was initially denied the visa, then we appealed. Back in those days, you can appeal, and we appealed, and we got the visa, and I went on holiday. And when I got there, I think that was really the eye opener for me. Going
Mm,
initially as a visitor, and
mm,
not just going for holiday for people taking me. I had the opportunity
mm,
to stay with my parents and my family for like 3 to 6 months, or maybe 5 months, I think. I was able to do that. And when I saw everything there, I did, I told myself, do I really want to stay here? Even though, don't forget, I was struggling in Nigeria. I could, I was trying different businesses and all that. But I told myself there should be more about this place. All right. There should be opportunities, And when I went on holiday too, I could remember saying to myself, I can't,
mm,
I don't think I'm going to stay here for long
mm,
because I heard people's story. I saw the picture that it was not the same with what people were painting online. I saw the difference. I saw my family, you know. I saw how they were trying, and even sometime back then, we thank God for now, it was difficult to get £100 off your parents, or
mm,
even £20, sometimes £30, And I said to myself, are they, can I not have the best of both worlds? Can I? And because I stayed in Nigeria as a young adult who has been here, and because I'm also self-driven, I saw myself saying, you know what, if they built this place, why can I not build
Back home.
back home? And like I said in one of my podcasts, I said I got to a place where my parents took me to London Eye, and I was checking all around Central London. I noticed that most of these things were built by their forefathers. And I said, their forefathers built it. We came to enjoy what others did. Why can I not sacrifice for the next generation? So not everybody will be like me. All right. Those were my reasons because I was young. But from those who have listened to, so after listening to a lot of people, I found out that after a while you get burnt out. You know, working in the UK, for example, or abroad is like working as a civil servant. Your routine is almost the same. 9 to 5, 9 to 5. You understand? In Nigeria, there's even opportunity for you to have 9 to 5. Husband can be doing 9 to 5, wife can be, and there's a business by the side, you're
Yeah.
hustling.
Yes.
There, you hardly have time for any other thing. So at some point, your life becomes boring. You look back after 10 years and you probably say, what have I achieved? You know, ask those who will be traveling the last 3 years, they will tell you, some of them, if not for people like us encouraging them, they can't even say they own a plot of land. So I looked at it and I said, you know what? I'm not going to continue this race. If I want to, can I have the best of both worlds?
Okay.
So for me, that was how we started. I met people who were retired and they didn't know how to go back home because there was no plan. All right. I saw people who had worked in companies for years, and yes, there was light, there was good road, but I noticed at some point they were burnt out. All right. And there are some of us or people in my category who just feels, you know what, this place, I can't just stay here and wants to give back. So for me, um, my journey, and because I have no regrets going through it, and by God's grace, I've been able to bring other people in,
Yes.
you know, encourage other people to join me. And I can tell you, I know people who are brought to boy that they don't even come to Nigeria now, they come 2, 3 times a year. And that's a good start. So for me, it was more of seeing the way my parents were struggling, all right? And they've been there before I got there. I think they've been there for maybe 6, 7 years before I eventually relocated, I think.
Wow.
They've been there.
Mm.
And I saw it, I'm like, no, no way. I saw uncles, aunties. I had met some grandmas who've been there since 1964, you know, and they were in government council houses, nothing to show back home. So, and I heard these people, some of them were even trying to renovate their father's house to come back to
Right.
retire to. And I'm like, no way, this is not for me. So I found out early, studying the Asians, even the Europeans who were coming into England. Let me shock you. You see that most Europeans, before the EU, UK broke off from the EU, once they come to work 2 weeks in the UK or 1 week, they have a flight taking them back to their country for the weekend. They were enjoying the best of both worlds. All right. And we'll come to further details. Right. I'll tell you why and the opportunities are there. Yeah.
Okay. But from what you're saying, are you just talking about the benefit of them just being able to visit home, or it's just is it beyond that? Just for them to be able to, okay, they have the resources. Oh, I can come home, I can still stay here, or is there more to it?
Okay.
Just
There is a lot more to it
okay.
because, like I said, there are a lot of opportunities
Mm.
that can help you even have the. And when I talk about best of, I'm not saying have the best life in Nigeria and not having the best life there. You can have the best
Best.
in both countries.
Okay.
All right. Like those I've mentored, those I'm working with, trust me, they are having the best of both worlds. For example, it opens several opportunities for you. For example, you are a Nigerian living abroad. There's access to market. What do I mean by access to market? If you're business oriented, if you don't want to keep doing 9 to 5, your landlord or your mortgage takes a chunk of the money, children feeding, and that's it. If you're not careful, you'll be stuck in that trap. Unlike Nigeria, where most of these people they were working either in government or private, but they had a side hustle. They had something bringing money for them. All right. In the UK, it's difficult to have a side hustle if you don't think it out properly.
Okay.
If you don't think it out properly and early, let me emphasize on the one early. If you don't think it out properly and early, it may be difficult for you to have the best of both worlds. Let me give you an example with parents before I come back to access to market. Most parents, they will tell you they are traveling because of their children. When the children get to a certain age, they become westernized. All right? When they become westernized, they may decide to get married and relocate to another country. The parents begin to feel lonely, bored, tired. They don't even know where to go back. Some of them could have even just come back to Nigeria and be short. When we say best of, we're not saying relocate totally. Not
Okay.
everybody will be like us, or some of us that maybe travel every month back and forth. We're saying you have a situation where you can plan, spend 3 months in Nigeria just to get off that stress and get back to your country. You feel rejuvenated. You get what I'm saying? So
Yes.
most parents, for example, their children leave and they get bored. Nobody to stay with them. Some of them, they're now thinking of going back home. You heard a case of a lady recently who said her father just came back home, built something, and just came back. Now, we're going to get, hopefully we'll get into that. That is not the way to relocate. That is not the way to get. You see some people wait until they are retired and say, oh, I built a house in my village. Let me pack my bag and be going home. No, you're going to get burnt. So you need to have the best. When we're talking about having the best of both worlds, it needs to start early and plan for. So, like I said, you can have access to market.
Yeah.
There are business opportunities. All right. You have access to talent pool. For example, you can be running a business abroad, and most of your workers are based in Nigeria. It's happening now. You have access to talent pool. For example, it will cost you maybe to get a programmer abroad to pay them maybe like 80 million a year before tax. In Nigeria, you can pay the person between 1.5 million or 1 million, 1.2 million to 10 million a year. That's a huge savings. Even those who live in the diaspora, the white guys who own businesses, those who are indigent of those countries, you now hear that sometimes you're making an international call, it's an Asian that is speaking, answering to you.
Yeah.
Sometimes those calls, even though you are calling a UK company, they are answering you from India.
Yes. Yes. That's true.
Their call center is in India. So what's that person who is born in the UK doing is having the best of both worlds, getting cheap labor, even though it's not from India. You can have the best of both worlds. Structure your businesses. Structure most of those who will be running stuff for you, and why you can run a very small scale office there. Why? You have the advantage that you're a dual national or a resident
Yes.
of another country. So you have access to market. You have your pre and post retirement plan. You see, when you get burnt out in the UK, trust me, if you have a decent property here, well furnished, and you come to Nigeria and somebody cooks for you, you have your chef, you have your driver. By the time you go back, if they tell you to work 3 months non-stop, you'll be able to do it. That's part of having the best of both worlds. You know there's a place you can go to where your little $100, $200, $300, $1,000, you go for a month and you can go to spa, you can go to a lounge, and you can even feed a few other people.
Yes.
Create jobs opportunity, yeah. So that's what it provides you,
Okay.
having the best of both worlds. Yeah.
Honestly, this is beautiful to hear.
Yeah.
And from what you said, it doesn't really have to wait till retirement time,
Yeah.
which is good. Now, before I dive into the aspect,
Yeah.
it's good to enjoy the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
But then there's the fear factor that comes with it, Nigeria factor, permit me to say. There are a lot of people that have this ideology like, I can't come back home. I don't want to invest home, the trust, all the security and everything. So what do you have to say about that aspect? Because most of the reason why people don't want to even dive into this is the fear factor. Coming home, like the story you said, she had that coming back home and what happened. And there's a lot of people that will hear that story and be like, oh, okay, I'm out. I don't want to come home. I don't want to have anything to do with Nigeria at all. So now, and you are saying someone can live or enjoy both worlds, but the fear factor, how can that be tackled? What do you have to say about that?
Well, fear factor is legit. And I'm not
Mm,
going to rubbish the way anybody's feeling.
okay.
All right. But that's one of the reasons why we're having this podcast, to educate people about it. Let me give you an example. One of the best way to relocate, like I said, what really helped me was that I have had the opportunity to travel on visiting. So
Okay.
I have had that opportunity. You see, those who relocate better are those who have had the opportunity to visit the country they want to relocate their family into. They've had first-hand experience. Now, because if you've left your country for a while, let me shock you. You're even talking about fear factor. You will see people who travel just 6 months, 1 year. They're already scared of coming back. And I laugh. Oh, God's sake, you just left. So you see people who left 3 years and they're like, oh, are you sure? I'm not like, for God's sake, you just left 3 years ago. So imagine those who have lived for 10, 15, or 5 more years there. So the fear is legit. All right. But like I said, just like, if because it's your own country does not mean you should be lackadaisical, or because you are going to a country you've not done your research. Let me tell you something. If you stayed out of Nigeria for so long, you need to understand how it works. Again, Nigeria you left 2 years ago, even though people are screaming online, is not the same as the one you will meet after 2 years.
True.
There will be a lot of changes. But for those who are in the system, they may not see those changes because they are living with it. But if you come from outside, there'll be a lot of changes. And as the environment is changing, the behavior and pattern of people are changing.